What they say, like, exactly went to the moon? But our regular phones have more information what they had to get to the
Yeah.
moon.
Morning, everyone. This is the April 16th meeting of the Dunn County Planning Resource and Development Committee. Looks like all members of the committee are present. So I would call the meeting to order. Approval of the minutes from April 2nd. Do I have a motion? Supervisor Moorhead?
Second.
Oh, okay.
Barriers?
Whoever.
I'll give it to Monica this time. Any discussion or corrections? All in favor of approval, say aye. Opposed, say no. Thank you. Are there any public comments prior to the meeting today? Okay, do we get anything in the mail or anything? Okay. Any public comments dealing specifically with the discussion of the comprehensive and farmland preservation plan update? We'll get into this a little more later, but nothing now. Then we have a public hearing. So I will call the hearing to order. Can the secretary call the roll? No, I'll call the roll. All members of the committee are present. Tammy, you can confirm the public records.
Yes, the hearing was noticed in the Colfax Messenger for April 2nd and April 9th.
Okay, so the purpose of the hearing is a request to rezone property owned by Matthew and Taylor Hellman. It's to amend the county comprehensive zoning ordinance to rezone 23 acres from primary agriculture district to the general agriculture district. This will be our policies that this is the only opportunity for public comment. We'll go to the board from here. If people are to speak, we'll have to do a informal or a formal swearing in. Give name and address and the whole 10 yards. So first of all, staff report. Tammy, could you fill us in?
Good morning. I have obviously the staff report was in the packet. I also created just a quick presentation PowerPoint to summarize that information. Does it work? Use technology.
There you go.
Whoops. Sorry. Okay. Again, so we do have this rezone for 23.09 acres. This is in the town of Wilson. The purpose of this is to construct a single-family home. They also intend to maintain the cropland and do wildlife enhancement to the natural areas. The parcel was acquired by the family or by Matthew and Taylor Hellman in July of 2024. They had a map survey done in May of 2024. Right now, or currently, it's part of the base farm tract of 138 acres, 6.92 acres based on our calculation of the 1 per 20, basically. They have 6.92 that would have been available for non-farm. However, that is already allocated with down here with this property, but that's also within the base farm tract. So the current zoning again is primary ag. The pink all around is showing the primary ag. We also then have general agriculture very close by, also in the town of Wilson. Highway 64 here, everything south, this is actually in the town of Otter Creek. So we do have two different townships. Not to make that too confusing of obviously the different zoning authority. Town and county plans designate the area as farmland. General agriculture supports rural living, maintains cropland, and preserves open space. Farmland preservation plan, the parcel is not, is eligible for farm preservation credits. However, none has been taken within that base farm tract. Some of the restrictions on the site include steep slopes, hydric soils, and actually non-prime farmland soils. So if we look at the soils closer, as this map was included in the staff report, basically all the soils that are out there are actually not prime or considered prime. There is an existing driveway for the farm, and Wisconsin DOT approved a shared access for that. So if we look at the primary ag district criteria, we need to look at, the committee will need to consider plan consistency, consistency with the farmland preservation plan, and no impact to agriculture, no conflicts, and basically there's no conflicts with the neighbors. Again, over here is generally, staff find that this is generally consistent. It's compatible with the surrounding use. The site is undeveloped, low density, minimum impact, and there's no vacancy concerns. So staff recommend that the rezone to general ag is supported, meets the criteria and goals of the plan. It's appropriate for rural development, and there's minimum impact. Last night at the town board meeting, they did approve the rezoning.
Okay, thank you. Before we go forward, are there any specific questions with regard to the presentation by Tammy? Okay. Are the applicants here? Would you care to, you don't have to, but if you'd like to say something, you can. Okay, all right, thank you. Is there anyone else here from the public that would like to comment on the request? Hearing none. Any questions by the committee? Any further clarification needed by the committee? Okay, then we will conclude the public hearing. And without objection, move to item 10A, which is a decision about the request for rezone. So could I have a motion to put this on the table?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I will move approval of the Matthew and Taylor Hellman rezone.
Thank you,
from PA
Supervisor
to
Morehouse. Is there a second?
Second.
Second. Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none, I'll call the question. All in favor of the request as presented, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. So the rezone request is approved. Thank you. Thanks for coming, you guys. We're on to number 7, staff reports, Register of Deeds monthly report. Oops.
Good morning. Give Chase a minute to get there. Yep. March was a busy month. Things are picking up. I did submit a request for one of the part-time deputies to go to full-time, and that request has been approved. So she will be going full-time on June 1st. So that's a change. Other than that, I don't have anything further to add.
Heather. All right, thank you very much, Heather. Then we've got environmental services.
I am not Tom, but I'm acting as Tom, so his report is on the screen. I will not be able to answer any questions if you have them.
Are there any questions of the, or thoughts or any comments on the survey report?
Just to comment, the continued note that all the parcels we're seeing are larger. People are still liking to have the larger parcels out in the country. And that, of course, does have an effect on what we're trying to do with housing.
Any other comments or questions? All right. Tammy, you're up.
Ready?
Planning and zoning.
Well, March was a busy month, reflected hopefully with our program assistant Lily, who is our secretary here at the committee. She's been tracking phone calls and emails and inquiries coming in. And that was prior to our sanitary notices going out. So a lot of questions, so very thankful for the staff we have, rock stars that are funneling all the phone calls coming in. Busy month again. I can continue to put the ADU information in there. We get a lot of, the questions are coming in. Again, we just aren't seeing applications for the ADUs. If we move on, March, we had a really nice discussion with Corporation Counsel and the Board of Adjustment staff talking about the court order. Hopefully, going forward, we've learned ways to document in the substantial evidence portion through Board of Adjustment that we can continue to collect that information and be ahead of any problems. Next week, Monday, we do have a large request coming to the Board of Adjustment, so we're preparing for that. I guess other items, again, we got Susan here kind of highlighting our comprehensive plan. She'll give us the kind of drum roll to the actual survey results and participation numbers. So again, I don't know if the committee has any questions, but I guess it concludes March's news.
Any questions for Tamara? Gary?
So where will the Board of Adjustments like meet at? Will it be out at the Juice Center or here?
We'll be in here.
Okay. Might be a big crowd, so I wouldn't know.
Maybe.
Maybe.
It says we can fit 178 in this room.
Okay. Any questions? Any more questions? All right. Thanks, Tamara.
Thank you.
Then we're on to
Me, still me.
Bill
Glenn
Chase, yeah. Oh,
So,
yeah, we
yeah.
have, yes, right.
Sure.
You don't get out of this, do you?
Okay. Yeah, my report's in the packet. A lot of stuff going on as well, like Tammy. Just to call attention, we did, April 15th, yesterday was the deadline for most of the grant programs we participate in, including our staffing grant, cost share funding grant, snowmobile trail and bridge grants. And then we also submitted two non-point source ag runoff related grants. One was for a farm and ended up being about a $860,000 grant for farm improvements to address some non-compliance. That's considered a notice of discharge grant. And then we submitted a targeted runoff management grant and a DAC reserve funding grant for another farm for some farm improvements to establish compliance with current standards. So beyond that, there is an attachment to my report based on Supervisor Bjork's request last time to look at more follow-up on the nitrogen optimization pilot program results. So I included a handout of the results from last year's trials. So this is 2023 and 2024. If you would like me to discuss more details, I can do that. Or if you would like more follow-up, different presentation, I could have Tina in our office come in and present at a future meeting, or I can, I guess, facilitate whatever you'd prefer. But thought maybe this handout would be beneficial in kind of describing where that money's going and what the results are.
My only question is, which application like seems to be working the best, or is it just too early to say anything on that?
Yeah, I think it's, in this particular situation, the takeaways with this project was basically late terminated rye cover crop is going to use up more nitrogen than an early terminated rye cover crop. And then the other part of the side of that was manure that's incorporated is going to provide more nitrogen to the growing crop than manure that's unincorporated. So it's confirmation of some things that we kind of understood already. The like I mentioned at last meeting, the current NOPP grant that's in place is going to look at landscape position and soil type for nitrogen availability. So a sandy knob versus a low ground. If it's on one field, we typically will plan nitrogen for that entire field, even though there's variability within it. So trying to look at how we can maybe be a little bit more precise on end management. Generally speaking, across the state, there's a number of these projects going on. So these are the ones that are local in our county right now. There's some in Barron, there's some in St. Croix County, Polk County, and then across the state. So to answer your question a little bit, it's too soon to tell the collective summary of all those reports. Now there is things that are out there. We just kind of go and look for them. But if you'd like, we could facilitate some further conversation on that as well.
So I see on both pages here, not a statistically significant impact on cover crop termination on yield for all N rates, and then the other one says the same thing. Am I interpreting that correct, that they did this and there are some things they learned, but it didn't really affect the yield? Or
correct? I mean, yield was impacted, but not in a significant way to like change the practice per se.
Anything else? Okay, thanks, Jess. 7C, comprehensive plan update. Tamara and Susan.
Great.
However you want to do it.
I'll kick
Tag
it
team.
off. Good morning, Susan Badke with the Regional Planning Commission. Thanks for allowing me to be here with you all today. It's been a few months, so thought I'd get back in front of you, share where we're at, where we're headed. We know this is a lengthy process, but provide you just a brief update, although I am going to, Chase, if you're getting it into presentation mode, right? Okay, great. Great. I do want to spend a little time just sharing some initial findings where we're headed. You have a light agenda today, and I'll make it a little bit heavier, but we won't take too much of your time this morning. So where we're at, and I guess, who's her? For some reason, just one image is coming up, but that's okay. As we know with the comprehensive plan, there are 9 required elements under statute. So we're starting out looking at trying to get information from the public through a variety of kind of outlets and channels as to what the key issues and opportunities are to really focus on and hone in on and address in our plan, okay? So that's kind of where this general public survey that we've done online is for. Like, we're trying to identify what those key issues and opportunities are. But that the survey is just one kind of data component that we're integrating in. So I wanted to keep that in mind and refresh your memory on there are 9 kind of elements. And so it takes time to get through all of those things, right? And especially the ag element is serving as the farmland preservation plan update. So we're really updating kind of 2 plans in one. And so we're taking our time to get through the process. So if some folks are like, why are we still in data collection? Because we need to take our time to work through data collection and conversation so that then we can talk about goals, objectives, and policies. So where we're at as it relates to the project, this is our scope of work that the Regional Planning Commission has with you folks. You don't need to see necessarily what's on the screen. The important thing is where we're at, right? And so the check marks are we've done those things. So we started, back in November, December of 2024, had some project conversations, and now we're in April, May, meeting with you folks to review some kind of initial survey results, talk about the focus groups assignments and coordination, and next steps. So April, May, we intend on having our first ag focus group meeting. That the date to be determined, but we're hoping for May 12th through 16th that week. So just keep that in mind. And then we'll be doing a farmland owner survey that we've talked about before. The draft is in progress. So we're working on that draft. We're working closely with your county staff here. I'm probably in communication with Tammy at least once a week, if not multiple times a week. So we're working very closely together and not in isolation. So just know that we're still in the beginning, a part of the process. Here are pages 3 and 4 of that scope of work. We have a long way to go, but we are making progress and moving forward on the project. You may have seen this as well. This is another just kind of visual tool to help inform the public as to where we are at and where we're headed in the process. So we're still here. We're in data collection. We're getting information from the public, getting information from you folks. We'll be having we're undertaking a number of surveys to towns as well as cities and city of Menominee and the villages. So that all feeds into that data collection, I guess, on this graphic piece of the puzzle, right? So we have to go through the steps in order to get to putting a draft plan together. As I mentioned, there are a number of surveys that we're conducting. So we have completed the public input survey that was conducted online through SurveyMonkey. You folks had an opportunity to review. Thank you for reviewing, providing feedback. That feedback certainly was, considered and taken into account. And hopefully you took the survey and you found that your review comments were addressed in the survey that was published and put out to the public for completion. So I'm going to be sharing some of the initial findings in a bit here on that public input survey. Municipal government surveys, those have been sent out. So every town, village, in the city of Menominee received, hopefully, I haven't had any returned back to me. So received a survey in the mail. And what we're looking for is for one survey to be complete that represents kind of the town, right? So we've directed it to the town board chair, but it's at their discretion. The town board chair could complete the survey. The town board chair could say, let's have the plan commission, let's have the board itself. I'm just going to make somebody else do it, right? And so I just received one today, so I can hold it up as a visual. This is what the survey looks like, and it's very similar for the city of Menominee and villages as well, but some different questions, of course, right? Appropriate to town versus kind of more urban type of development. So it's it's collecting information. It's collecting information on, what are the priority challenges that they feel should be addressed? What are their kind of land use plans, economic development plans? What are opportunities? What do they see as significant challenges or trends in their respective town? And so all of this will eventually feed back and be part of that data that is shared with you folks as we're reviewing specific elements, right? So as we're talking about transportation, we're going to be sharing the survey results as it relates to transportation, sharing the feedback we receive from municipal governments and the towns on transportation. What are the issues that we need to talk about? What are key priorities? What are, goals, objectives, policies that we should be thinking about? So those have all been sent out. They are due back mid to end of May. So towns had a week earlier deadline because I got them out earlier. And so City of Menominee and the villages in the county have until the end of May to get those completed. We included a self-addressed stamped envelope, so should be pretty easy for them to complete. And they're starting to come in the mail, so that's a good thing. Farmland owner survey, we are working on that. We plan to have a draft of that survey, or at least some draft questions to the ag focus group for their first meeting. So we're not going to be sending that out until the ag focus group meets, because we do want their input. And there might be something that, conversation that results from that focus group that warrants an additional survey question, right? So that will be forthcoming, but we are working on that, and we are consulting with both Chase and Tammy here because we recognize farmland preservation, land and water plan. There's a lot of plans that kind of overlap, and we want to make sure that we're hoping that we hopefully address kind of multiple plans and get the information that we want without over surveying folks. So I am going to share some initial results from the public input survey. Tammy put together a nice memo that was included in your packet. It was brief. So when the memo was prepared, at that time, we had 279 responses. It's data. It's all data, right? And it's one piece of data. And I think that's important for you folks, and you're aware of that, but also the public to keep in mind that this public input survey isn't the only source of data that we're considering throughout this process. It's not that this public input survey is going to make the decisions for this plan, right? It's one piece of information for the focus groups to consider, for PR&D to consider, for staff to consider. So it is it's valuable information, but it's not the end all be all, right? You folks are in charge of preparing the plan, and you have decided you wanted to engage the public through a variety of different inputs and get information so that you're educated on what is the public thinking, right? So at that time we had 279 survey results. I am pleased to say that that number increased. So we originally were planning to close the survey on April 7th. We extended it one additional week in hopes that some more social media posts, some more outreach, maybe could garner us some additional survey responses. And it did. It did. I think actually in the last week, survey responses jumped up in total. Now, keeping in mind, not all respondents answered every question, but in total, there were 541 survey responses. So I was pleased that we extended it that additional week. I think there was a lot of value in that, and there was nothing lost as a result of that, right? I'm not here saying that I have reviewed, all of these survey results, right? But I will be. Of those 541, and I think the very first question asked if you lived in Dunn County, yes or no, or unsure. You didn't know. Maybe you didn't know. There were 3 people who didn't respond to that question, so they must have moved forward, but that's fine. So 41 of those 541 folks do not live in Dunn County, but we did ask them, what is their kind of relationship to Dunn County? And I think it's important, there was some question why, and I always get questioned, why do we allow other people, outside residents, to participate in the survey? Why isn't it just to residents? Well, we do have other stakeholder groups, right? We have business owners, we have employees, right? And so looking county-wide, it's not just a resident perspective. It's keeping in mind there are others that contribute to our economy, contribute to our, outdoor recreation, our just our community, right? If you have family, friends that live here. So the majority workshop visit and or have family connections. I think there were just a few, maybe 3 that said they had a business here. So our employers aren't, well represented necessarily in the survey results. 497 live in Dunn County. So if you want to know, what are those who we do have away, and I have done that, right? Dunn County resident responses only, right? So what do Dunn County folks who live here, what do they think are key priorities? We're going to look at those 497 responses. We did obtain at least one, there was at least one response from every community. So every town, some might have just had one, but I was still happy that at least we got one from every community in the county. Of the 497 respondents, 74% were from the towns. So the towns that had the highest responses were Menominee, Dunn, Red Cedar, not Tainter, and New Haven. Had the highest responses. 5% from the villages and 21% from the city of Menominee. So there was a strong showing, of course, from Menominee folks, but I was happy to see, 74% are town respondents. 90% of those who responded to the question intend on residing in Dunn County for the next 10 years. So a lot of folks who responded tend to be here, kind of intend to stay in Dunn County for a while. So what I did was these results are specific to the 497 resident respondents, okay? Because so we asked folks, select the 3 most important reasons why you choose to live in Dunn County, and you were able to select only 3, right? So what are your top 3 reasons that you live here? So I, of course, circled 4 because there were 2 that were close. But in terms of the top responses, near family and friends, rural lifestyle, natural beauty, and agriculture. I don't think none of these top 4 reasons surprised me. I doubt that they surprised you folks. And if you're wondering, oh, well, what are the actual survey percentages? So I shared the full survey results with Tammy so that she has them. However, what I would like to do, and I guess I could have asked this question earlier, but it just came to my mind. What I have done in the past is I like to review. There were quite a few open-ended questions, and what I have learned is that sometimes it's good for me to review those, and that sometimes there are comments that are unnecessary, right? That folks put in there, whether it's sometimes I've seen, personal statements. So for example, the clerk of blah, blah, blah is blah, 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 right? And more derogatory, and folks don't like that information shared. It's not relevant to the question. It's not. So if it's okay with you, I can certainly share the full responses with you, but what I'd like to do is go through them. And if there's something that is a personal, I'd like to redact that so that that's not shared. It's not open in the public. It's unnecessary to the survey results. So that's why you haven't received them, right? It's easy for me to print this out. Takes a little bit of time to go through all of the survey responses and read them. But I would like to do that because I have encountered a few times actually where there's just unnecessary comments that aren't relevant and don't need to be shared. So you will get that as soon as I have the opportunity. If you're okay with that approach, that I go through them first. And again, I'm only redacting anything that is a personal target with a name or but then once I have the opportunity to do that, we'll certainly share the full results with you so that you can dig a little deeper as we will be doing throughout the process, right? So I'm sharing some kind of higher level things with you, but we'll be diving in as we have our working meetings coming up here in the future. Most important actions or priorities for Dunn County. Again, we asked, the question was asked, what should be the most important actions or priorities for the county to consider in these plan updates? And again, this is resident responses only. So those 497 respondents, and not all respondents answered all questions. So keep that in mind. But you can see here at the top, support water quality initiatives, preserve ag lands for future generations, invest in county road improvements. Those three certainly were the highest, rated or identified important actions or priorities. Expand affordable housing, maintain rural character, manage urban growth to prevent sprawl, enhance local food systems and ag resilience, support renewable energy. I kind of lumped those together. That was like in the 15% to 30% ranking. And then encourage diverse economic growth, promote tourism, outdoor rec and ag tourism, protect and expand open space, enhance broadband tech infrastructure, and then a few others. So just to give you a kind of a highlight as to what those respondents see as being the most important actions or priorities for the county. So we also asked the question, and this gets towards visioning, right? So in 10 years, our plan is looking out 20 years, but 10 years is a little bit easier for people to grasp, maybe. And you by state statute have to update your plan once every 10 years. So 10 years is a good benchmark. We asked respondents, what do you hope has stayed the same? So that gets at what do they like, right? And so that might tie back to what their priorities are for the county or what, why they live here. But we said, imagine Dunn County in 10 years. What do you hope has stayed the same? As you can imagine, that was an open-ended question. So there were several comments, but we tried to sort them and kind of come up with some common themes. And so I'm going to share them with you. None, I didn't find them surprising, but I'll be interested in your keep your thoughts in mind as to whether these surprise you. So rural character, small town feel, agricultural heritage and farmland preservation. There was an emphasis on maintaining small and mid-sized farms. Natural beauty and open spaces, so parks, trails, undeveloped areas preserved and keeping those preserved and having clean air and water. Vibrant downtowns and local businesses. So specific mention, and this might come from the city of Menominee respondents primarily, right? But thriving historic Menominee downtown Menominee, Mabel Tainter Theater came up. Desire for local small businesses as opposed to chain stores, specifically in downtown and in the city of Menominee. Community connection and safety. So that came up, sense of community, low crime, friendly people. Kind of ties back somewhat to that first, small town atmosphere, small town character. Those two things often go hand in hand. Quality public services and education. So UW Stout, the library came up, public schools as being vital for attracting families and maintaining economic vitality. Access to broadband and county services. Outdoor recreation and trails, again, maintaining, expanding recreational opportunities, so bike trails, public lands. And this ties back to that kind of downtown Menominee, but historic preservation, cultural vibrancy, that came up, cultural offerings, community theater, music, arts, stable population and low density. Many hope the county avoids rapid population growth to preserve the rural character. And economic stability with local industry. So desire for key employers and manufacturing firms to remain along with, agriculture. So those were really kind of the common themes that came up when people think about the vision in 10 years. What do they want Dunn County to kind of look and be, and what do they hope has stayed the same? Ties very much back to those kind of why do you live here, right? Many of those agriculture, natural beauty, family and friends, small town feel. Anything surprise you? Any comments on the what do you hope has stayed the same? Okay, not seeing any, and I didn't expect there to.
I have a question. Are these like kind of ranked in order of how quickly they came?
are.
Okay.
Yes. We tried to group them. I'm not going to put a numeric number on each, but they are, yes, the small town character, I would say that had that was mentioned the most, right? But they're just common themes. So,
Okay, thank you.
yeah. Yep. So then we also asked folks, what do you hope has changed? So again, looking at what are some things that they, in 10 years, what do they hope is different? Some common themes, water quality and environmental protection. So there's a strong desire for cleaner lakes and rivers. Affordable and quality housing. Want more affordable single family homes, rental options, housing variety. And we talk about this. This was talked about during the county's housing study. Need to meet a variety of housing or have housing variety, housing choice to meet different needs, right? So we're trying to meet the needs of students, families, seniors, other types of housing and living arrangements. Concerns about sprawl, deteriorating rentals, and housing developments on ag, not age land, on ag land. So again, the comprehensive plan is going to have to balance a lot of things, right? You're trying to balance providing housing choice and providing, maybe some maybe addressing sprawl and managing that with also the desire for rural living. I think Mike brought up how your ag parcels, what did I write down here? People are liking to have larger parcels in the country, right? And that's a choice and that's a preference, right? But we also have to manage these other things. So that's what the comprehensive plan is going to have to do, is you're trying to balance a lot of different interests and priorities.
Susan, talk a little bit about the concerns about sprawl. What
Yep. So
specifically was that about?
So that was just an open-ended
Yeah.
open-ended comment. I'd have to go to the exact comment to
Oh,
get
you don't need to do.
more
you don't need to
details
do
on that.
No,
But in terms of just growing without having a plan, right? So like City of Menominee, maybe
Okay.
extending out and continuing out. I'd have to see if
That's
there's
fine.
any more
No,
detail
no,
on
you're
that.
fine. Thank you.
May I?
Yeah,
I can't remember. These two questions, they were open-ended? Like,
they were
okay.
completely open-ended.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
Yep. Road improvements. Respondents cited poor road conditions in rural areas and county roads. Economic development and job opportunities. So, a desire for and support for small and mid-sized businesses and manufacturing growth. Also, desire to kind of embrace and enhance, create maybe a more vibrant downtown, specifically in Menominee. Sustainable agriculture and land use, so desire to preserve farmland, reduce large-scale industrial farming, and really support small, sustainable family farms. Community and recreation, desire for more parks, and you'll see these things really tie back to what do people want to preserve, right? So they want to even continue to have parks, bike and walking trails, family-friendly activities, community events. So really embracing that. Public services and infrastructure, so broadband, enhanced emergency services. Some want lower taxes and less government regulation, so that fell into that kind of category as well. Recycling and waste management, desire for strong recycling programs, reduced landfill waste. So that, just to give you an overview of what folks were thinking, we'll be diving in more, what did town residents, versus there's a lot of different kind of crosstabs we can do, right? We just closed the survey on Monday, so I've not yet done those. But we will be diving deeper into the survey results as we work through the different plan elements, right? So as I mentioned, transportation, utilities and community facilities, housing. The survey asks, specific questions as it relates to each plan element. And so during those respective elements, we'll be bringing forward and incorporating the survey results as well as the focus group. What did the town say in their municipal survey? So all of the data will be, presented at that time. Any questions, comments on kind of just those some initial, kind of survey findings?
Just kind of seems that the whole county really wants to preserve the rural characteristics. That is played like a lot of different times in that, so somehow to meet the housing needs and yet still like maintain that rural characteristics. That's kind of a,
That's the balancing act,
That's
right?
the balancing
Yep,
act.
yep, and that's the challenge, and we'll be having, yeah, conversations on that. You know, what are,
If I may, I was just a little surprised at the sort of economic development jobs aspect, for people living here, being here, and the sort of limited focus on growing jobs, growing wages, um, meeting some of our ongoing economic development needs. I was surprised that that was so, that mention of that was so limited.
yeah, yep. And we can look at demographic, age breakdown. There's a lot of different kind of crosstabs we can do to see how folks respond to that. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's. Yeah, sorry. Um, I'd like to look at that a little more, and I think that's probably a topic for some focus group consideration to explore this in a
Absolutely.
bit more detail. I mean,
Absolutely.
because,
Yep.
we looked at, Susan, at the
Yep.
housing study, at
Mhm.
the wage
Yeah.
breakdown in industries, and I mean, it's an issue,
Mm-hmm.
so.
Mhm. Yep. Any other comments on the survey? Again, we're going to be diving in, right? This is just, don't think this is all that we're talking about the survey for, but this is just some high level kind of initial findings. The second piece of what I want to chat about is the focus groups. So we have 6 focus groups. There we go. 6 focus groups as part of this planning process. The first 5 have been determined. So housing, water, economic development, agriculture. An agriculture group gets to meet twice, right? All the other focus groups will be meeting once. But for these focus groups, it'll probably be 2 hours in which we're going to have a detailed kind of deep dive conversation on these specific topics. The 6th focus group, we still to be determined by you folks. Hopefully you can decide at your May 7th meeting, and I'll touch on this a little bit. We had talked about, let's see what the survey results say, maybe something will pop up. And so over the next few weeks, hopefully Tammy and I can look through the results, and maybe we'll have some suggestions or ideas for you to consider, in addition to things that you folks have been thinking about since we started this process. Maybe there are some ideas, but then at your May 7th meeting, we would like to kind of nail down that 6th focus group topic kind of area. So with that,
Question?
yes.
Gary, go ahead.
Yep. So these focus groups, are they gonna be done like you one at a time, or are you gonna maybe have them go on and maybe 2, 3 at the same time, or?
Yep, they'll be done one at a time.
Okay, one at a time.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And as part of the focus groups, we're looking, we want to keep them a manageable size, right? So we can have a productive conversation. So we're hoping to have, ideally, now if it gets a little bit larger, if it gets a little bit smaller, that's fine. But we don't want, to have it be 50 people, right? That's just not that's not a focus group. That's just a kind of an open large meeting, right? That's a meeting. So we'd like to keep it to about 10 to 12 individuals with relevant knowledge. So not that I used to farm in 1980, but that I'm a current farmer, for example, right? Not just that I'm interested in what's going on in housing. I just am a resident with just general, or we don't want a full focus group of just people that are interested, right? We want them to have relevant knowledge and diverse interests on the topic. So keep that in mind. And I know you folks have done some, I think at your last meeting, you had some conversation on stakeholder mapping. Tammy had laid out kind of an Excel chart maybe. And so that's what I do want to to talk about as well. So the first focus group that will be held is the Ag Working Lands Focus Group. Okay, that is, we're again hoping to have that May 12th through the 16th sometime. The date time is to be determined. We're going to need to work on the logistics of that. But that is what we're hoping for meeting one. And at that meeting, we'll be presenting some ag trends, talking about issues and opportunities, going over that draft farmland owner survey, some, questions, having discussion on that, and related plans and programs. So that's kind of our just kind of draft agenda for that first meeting. Then I mentioned there will be a second ag meeting. That'll be scheduled June, July, and that will talk about those farmland owner survey results. There's some LISA mapping, identifying farmland preservation areas, and really diving into ag goals, objectives, policies, and strategies. Now, all of those recommendations that come from the focus groups are going to come back to you folks, right? So ultimately, you prepare the plan and bring it forward to the county board for consideration. All of this is just, but we are looking for these focus groups to kind of share and provide some recommendations that then can come back to you for consideration. So that's our timeline. So in terms of who will be serving on these focus groups, and I think that you had some conversations at your last meeting about who should sit on, who might be good participants. And so what I did here was I took just the ag. I just want to focus today, at least, on this ag working land stakeholder, the stakeholders for the focus group. So this is what I think Tammy, myself, you folks, in consulting you, put together this kind of group of folks, which I think is a great group. After we looked at this, after your last meeting, I sat down with another planner in our office and said, okay, who might be missing, right? Who might be missing? So some suggestions, and many of you know Chris Strait in our office, I think. Chris is a very valuable planner in our organization, and Chris is leading the Chippewa County plan update, and so we are working very closely hand in hand on both of these county planning processes, and Chris will be involved in some of the focus group meetings. He's done a lot of work in the county, and so you might see him here instead of me, or if you attend a focus group meeting. And vice versa, I might be helping him out with some things like housing in Chippewa County. So you might see both of us. But we sat down and we said, okay, for Dunn County, who might we want to think about including in this group that's not on the list? And so he mentioned River Country Resource Conservation and Development Council, maybe a logging rep or a forester. So again, it's not just ag, it's also farmland preservation. It gets to the working land. So there's some forestry elements as well. An extension agronomist, strive for a mix. And we have different, farmers listed throughout the stakeholder group, but strive for a mix of 3 to 5 farmers by type and size. So there was the county's livestock operations study group. And so Chris actually, I think, was involved in that planning effort. And so he suggested maybe look at the participants from that livestock study group. But be thinking about, a mix of farmers, right? So we're not just having large farmers, we're not just having small, but that we're getting a mix because we want those diverse interests and we want to make it, as kind of comprehensive as we can. Few others, maybe, and these are all just things to consider, right? It's not that we're ultimately the makeup will defer to the county, but local FFA student, and a DATCAP, someone from DATCAP, and I think that was all that we had come up with for maybe in addition to that. So I guess kind of I'd like to get, and I'm guessing Tammy would too, some direction from you as to, are you comfortable with staff moving forward and kind of creating? Do you want to identify specific or what is your preferred approach in terms of identifying and inviting individuals? And Tammy, jump in here if there's been additional conversation as it relates to inviting folks to serve on these focus groups. But I'd like to get It's April 16th. So in a month, we're hoping to hold that first focus group meeting. So it is important that we identify, folks to serve on the focus group so that we can invite them to the meeting and get the logistics in place for that.
Any thoughts from the committee? Mike?
Yeah, thank you. You mentioned the livestock operations group. We had a couple of large farmers that were excellent, did a great job. But I would hate to have them come on again or ask them to do it again. It'd be nice if we got a different large farmer, a different CAFO owner or something like that, just for some variety. I know one in particular has been on many committees. So just something to think about. We also had a wonderful smaller farmer. But just, I hate to keep drawing on the same opinions, the same people. Just keep that in mind, please.
Couple of thoughts. I wonder if there are people on the Health Done Right environmental action team, like a couple people who are here, with some interests in ag, that we would think about that. And I guess my second thought is that, I would sort of defer to Chase and actually to Tom, because of you. I mean, you know farmers. So I would like to see that we had some sustainable farmers, the small farmers. And that's not in my personal network, but I know it is in Tom's, and obviously Chase, that's in your purview. So just random thoughts.
Well, I would like to say that the same thing that Diane said. I think Chase, I know he's not a farmer, or I'm not sure what he does, as far as other time, but not during the daytime anyhow. But I think he'd bring a lot of knowledge, for questions like that. So I'd like to see that. And it just appears to be that the farmers are getting bigger and bigger. I know, but there's a lot of smaller ones, but it's gonna be a smaller group to pick from. They're doing more acres and more stuff, and so I don't know, but I would like to see Chase on it.
Yeah, I think I would rely on Chase also, but I think it's an opportunity I mean, the initial survey seemed to indicate that there was a pretty strong desire to maintain kind of a diverse base of farming in the county. And so it's difficult, I think, to have, to bring people with such diverse perspectives together, but maybe it's really worth it, to just have that discussion. I know we found that in the livestock group that people realize things that they didn't before, just by virtue of getting to know people and talking. So I think we should try and find, some folks from a diverse group of people. And I like the list you have up there already, actually. I think within that list, we could find a group.
Okay. Did you have a comment?
Yeah, okay. I remember when we were doing the ADU discussion, we were pretty free about soliciting comments from people here. And I'm wondering if that might be an attitude worth incorporating in this context. I think we've got a room full of people who are probably here for the specific issue. And, maybe there's a perspective that we're not considering right now that somebody might like to add.
That's a good point, Monica. And I appreciate you bringing that up. Yeah, let's do that. Is there, on this point, is there anyone here who has thoughts they'd like to share on how to devise this particular focus group or other focus groups? If you, I have to be appropriate, I have to ask you to go up to the microphone. Do you want to say something? And name and address.
There you go.
Great. Thank you. My name is Katie Richards. My address is 1103 18th Street Southeast here in Menominee. Thank you for the opportunity to speak on this. I am a resident of Dunn County. I'm technically kind of a hobby farmer. I live in the city of Menominee, but work in agriculture for my full-time job. I work with Wisconsin Farm Bureau. And I work with Dunn County Farm Bureau here in Dunn County. We do have a couple of representatives here. So appreciate your thought on this. And I just wanted to kind of give my deep appreciation for you guys taking a look at this and looking at the importance of agriculture here in Dunn County and supporting those who make their living from it. I appreciate your comments on including all shapes and sizes and looking at every different opportunity. So, just would like you to look at all of those options up there. Would encourage you to reach out to representatives of Dunn County Farm Bureau, myself, or we have a couple representatives here as well to help in that process to get involved and bring all of the farmers into this plan. Agriculture, I think we've seen it here, how important it is in Dunn County. And this is a little bit of an old statistic. Now, it might be a little bit more, but just it provides over $989 million in economic activity here in the county. So super important to hear from everybody. I would offer up myself as a resource as well as I think any of our Dunn County Farm Bureau representatives as well. So appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else have any thoughts? Yeah. Name and address.
All right. My name is Anna Dalka. I live at 2836 Whisper Court in Menominee. So I'm a resident of Dunn County and the city of Menominee. I moved here about 5 years ago. I graduated college in 2020, moved here, had to live with my parents until I found a job. I work for the UW Stout Manufacturing Outreach Center. So I have a little bit of knowledge in manufacturing and also agriculture. I came here from the Northwoods of Wisconsin where, there's not much farming at all there. It's mostly forestry, logging, or paper mills, stuff like that. So when I first came to Menominee, I see all these big tractors driving around and equipment and farms spotting 29. I was fascinated by it and got interested and reached out to our county farm bureau so I could get kind of involved with agriculture. And through that, I actually met my current boss. He owns a small farm, a robotic dairy in Boyceville. And I work there a couple mornings a week. I was just there this morning, actually, before I came here. And I think the effect of agriculture on somebody that comes from the outside is even more prevalent, in my opinion. It's something that I really appreciate about living in this area. And again, coming from the Northwoods, Wisconsin, absolutely zero, basically agriculture to this area and getting so involved in it. The effect that agriculture has had on my life and in my experience living in this area is imminent. I mean, it's been a big deal for me, and it's something that I'm very passionate about, especially as a city resident. Our apartments that we live in, you can tell there's a huge soybean and cornfield in the area adjacent from us, and to see apartments sprouting up around this area is, as somebody that's passionate about agriculture, is sad. And as a young person too, my husband and I would love to be able to buy a house someday. I've lived in my apartment for 4 years. It's a wonderful apartment and I'm appreciative of it, but we're ready to buy a home. But so many of the houses that they're building right now are townhomes or twin homes. So you're paying $300,000, $400,000 for a house that's attached to another house. We have a whole bunch of them just being built down the road from us on, I think it's Nicholas Drive. So there's a whole bunch of them sprouting up, which is nice for the people that want to live in those. But a lot of us are looking into buying, like we saw in that document earlier, 3 or 4 acre parcels of land with a home. And I think that's becoming more common and prevalent for people. So I just want to share that. And again, I thank you guys so much for taking time to look at all the different data and get responses from different groups of people. So I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Morning, everybody. My name is Ben Sand. I live in the town of Dunn. My address is E4520, 370th Ave, Menominee. My wife and I live in the country. We started our farm from scratch. We grow row crops. We do some small scale sweet corn, pumpkins, apples to introduce our children to agriculture and hopefully provide more outreach to agriculture. Day job, I work in crop insurance. I work with farmers. I do soil testing, nutrient management planning, sell seed. So I work with a wide variety of farmers, from small scale to large farms. I'm also the Dunn County Farm Bureau president. So I've had the opportunity to work with folks like Anna getting interested in agriculture, work with a wide variety of age groups and people's positions in agriculture. So I look forward to continuing to do that and keep agriculture strong. Obviously, the statistics so far show that it's very important in our county. So just want to thank you for your time and look forward to growing agriculture.
Thanks a lot. Anyone else? Okay, Gene.
Hey, Gene Ringer, N7198, 190th Street, Knapp. And I just, when you were talking about selecting people, I was thinking both Farm Bureau and Farmers Union, great organizations that belong to both, and think that they would be possible sources for identifying individuals to participate. So that was just my thought.
Thank you, Jim. Anyone else? Okay.
I just thought that the people that up here that were speaking, there's so many of them that aren't really part of agriculture, but yet they really have a strong interest in agriculture. I think that is something that's kind of just being brought in. You know, because you don't just have to be a farmer to really be part of it. You know, there's a lot of people that make their income that way, or maybe just like the outdoors.
Okay. So as we go forward, I appreciate, Monica, your reminder that we had promised to, as we do often in these groups, to try and include informal comments from people who come to talk to the meeting. So we'll keep the process as open as possible. Thanks a lot. Go ahead, Susan.
Did you have something you wanted to share?
I was just going to offer, at the last committee meeting, we talked about that interest form, and that is live on our website. I've got 4 individuals that have responded. And so as we're sitting here and just thinking about options, you know, to get that form and that link out there, right? So, you know, to have, you know, maybe the Farm Bureau and Farmers Union, other represent, you know, like we could share it with the individual that already. I mean, it'd be ideal to have kind of a platform where we just are collecting that interest instead of, you know, but equally, if the committee members have someone in mind, we can, reach out to them individually, but it is a resource for us to collect and kind of track, you know, the different individuals out there who want to be involved.
Would you share that form with us, so that a link
I could,
to the
yep,
form so that we could assist in getting it out? I mean, and
Yep.
Unless you don't want to do that.
no, absolutely, yes, I will.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and Mike's, yeah, okay, that's good.
And I think that's great. But being mindful that if we have 500 people that are interested, again, we want to make sure that we keep our focus or focused, right? Focus groups, so that we're not overcommitted. I want to be as engaging as possible, but also as productive as possible. So just keeping those things in mind when we're using the interest form, but I think it's a great tool. So as it relates to I want to circle back real quick to the ag working lands, because I do want to move that one, get that one moving forward, right? The others, we can take a little bit more time. It sounded like from many of the folks that they were kind of deferring to maybe Chase, Tammy, Tom to kind of solidify at least this first kind of ag working lands focus group, and maybe, that you all kind of like the group, the stakeholder kind of categories and organizations, but in terms of identifying and inviting specific individuals, working with some of those organizations. So working with the Farm Bureau to get some ideas of, working with the Farmers Union to get some ideas of different, a variety of different farm sizes, and types, and but that you're kind of deferring maybe to these folks so that we can solidify that list and invite those folks and get that moving forward. Is that a reasonable approach?
I think so.
Okay, great. Then I will work with your staff and they'll work with Mr. Quinn, and we'll get this one moving forward. In terms of next steps, real quickly, and then I'll wrap up and be done. We'll be working with staff to coordinate the logistics for the focus groups, some things that are out of order, public survey results, the municipal surveys, date, time, location. We'll be working on all those logistics directly with staff. And let's see here, farmland owner survey. So keep that in mind. We are working on that. I did the mailing. I got the latest parcel data from the county just this week. It'll probably be about 1,300 mailings that'll go out. So that should hopefully we'll get a lot of response. Again, that's going to owners with lands of 30 or more contiguous acres that are assessed as ag, right? But 1,300, that's a lot of mailings, and we'll hopefully get good feedback. We'll also likely be doing an online survey and or having that survey available online, in hopes that many of those who receive it in the mail will complete it online, but also to give those the opportunity, if I own 10 acres of farmland and I'm not getting a mailed survey, that we will, that they can contribute. It's just they're not getting a mailed survey, right? Because to keep costs reasonable, we can't mail every single person a survey in the county. But we will have it available online. So if there's a smaller, landowner, farmer who wants to contribute to the conversation and complete the survey, that anyone will be able to do that.
Okay.
Now, our next meeting will likely be June 4th, so keep that on your calendar. That's when I'll probably be back in front of you. If need be, it'll be sooner, it'll be in May, but otherwise I plan to return here June 4th, in which then I'll have additional information to share from the municipal surveys and other sources of data. So thank you for your time and attention and conversation. If you have any questions for me, happy to answer them. Otherwise, I'll plan to see you all June 4th, unless you attend the Ag Working Lands Focus Group meeting, in which I may be at. So thank you.
Any questions?
No,
Diane?
my compliments, Susan.
Oh,
Not surprising, but a good job.
thank you.
Yeah, glad to hear Chris, and Chris is working with you too.
Yes, yep.
Chris was really good with the livestock working group that we had. He did a
Yeah,
really good job.
he has a lot of knowledge to share and a lot of history. He's been at the Regional Planning Commission for over 20 years. And so I think it's important, given all of his history and work in Dunn County, that he participate in that. And so the two of us really are tag teaming on both county projects, which works out well, and there's a lot of efficiencies in that.
Anything else for anyone, Mike?
Other than just to say, I feel better each time you guys come in and present. It feels like we're moving along and it feels good.
I had a question.
Yeah.
Real quick, you used an acronym that I'm not familiar with, LESA, LESA.
Yeah. Yep. So that's land evaluation and site assessment. Okay. I was going to say suitability assessment, site assessment. So that's essentially just to do my best at summarizing, it's a method in which you can rank and kind of score lands using different criteria to identify areas that you want to preserve land. So what areas are, best for farmland for prime, like what lands are best for prime agriculture, and so it's a method, a mapping method, essentially. Is that a decent way of describing it? Yeah. So we'll be using that for the farmland preservation planning. And we've had conversations, we've met with Chase and Tammy internally to kind of strategize on our approach to that mapping. I don't know how much, we're still figuring out how much of that we'll probably internally do some models, right, for your consideration, right? We're not going to come to you and say, what do you want to include in this? Because you'll probably give me blank stares. Instead, we think it's best if we bring you something to react to. So these are the criteria that we've used in option 1. This is a scoring metric. And we'll dive a little deeper into that. But yes, yep. Mm-hmm.
I did remember my question. You mentioned about us attending a focus group, and I thought we had discussed that a little bit, and Diane, you had an opinion?
Yeah, generally, you don't want to pack the room with people who are able to make decisions about the input from the focus group. So 12 people in a room is probably too many anyway. So I don't think it's a good idea. I really don't. I mean, if there were some opportunity to either audio record the proceedings or to visually record the proceedings that we could watch, but not in the room. It's not a good idea.
Okay. Anything else on this topic from anybody? All right. It's to me like, are there any announcements from anyone? Then I guess our next meeting is May 7th, and we'll adjourn the meeting. Thanks, everybody, for coming. Thanks for all you for coming too.